Imagine you're 22, working hard at your college job, and someone says there's a surprise party waiting just for you. Sounds exciting, right? But what if that party was a trap, and everyone there wanted you dead? This is the bone-chilling true story of Janet Chandler, a young woman whose murder went unsolved for 25 years, until a shocking confession blew the case wide open.
Janet Chandler was a bright, talented 22-year-old music student at Hope College in Holland, Michigan. She was friendly, hardworking, and full of dreams for the future. To help pay for school, she took the night desk shift at the Blue Mill Inn. The winter of 1979 was brutally cold. Snow buried the streets, and the town was unusually tense. A factory strike had brought dozens of out-of-town security guards to Holland. These guards were hired to protect the plant from angry picketers, and many of them stayed at the Blue Mill Inn, the same hotel where Janet worked. Janet was friendly with the guards. She greeted them with a smile, chatted with them during long, quiet nights, and even built friendships with some. But there were tensions too, jealousies, rumors, and complicated relationships. And then came the night of January 31st, 1979. That evening started like any other. Janet worked her usual shift, keeping the hotel running smoothly. Then, just before midnight, she was told something exciting. There was a surprise party planned for her at a nearby guest house. At first, she hesitated. It was late, and she had work to do, but the thought of being celebrated by her friends was too tempting. Janet grabbed her coat, stepped out into the icy night, and left with the guards. What she didn't know was that this was no celebration. The moment Janet arrived, the atmosphere turned dark. The party was a setup. Inside that house were several men who had decided Janet needed to be punished. They believed she had been too close to some of them, that she had caused drama among their group, and they were angry. The so-called surprise turned into a night of terror. Janet was surrounded, mocked, and humiliated. The men began to assault her, one after another, while she cried and begged them to stop. She was beaten, tortured, and violated in ways too horrific to imagine. Her roommate, Laurie Swank, was there too, someone Janet trusted. But instead of helping her, Laurie joined in the cruelty, shouting insults and encouraging the men. The torture went on for hours until Janet's screams grew weaker. Finally, one of the men wrapped a belt around her neck and strangled her until she stopped breathing. Janet Chandler was dead, but the nightmare wasn't over.
The men now had to get rid of the evidence. They wrapped her body, loaded it into a car, and drove through the dark, snowy night to a lonely stretch of road along Interstate 196. The snow was falling hard, covering everything in white. They dragged Janet's lifeless body into a snowbank, buried her under the powdery snow, and drove away as if nothing had happened. By morning, the snowplows were clearing the roads. And then, one driver saw something strange sticking out of a snow pile. An arm. When police arrived, they uncovered Janet's frozen body. The town of Holland was stunned. Who could have done something so monstrous? Detectives worked tirelessly. They interviewed witnesses, questioned guards, followed rumors. But there were too many dead ends. The case eventually went cold. For 25 years, Janet's murder haunted the town. Her parents waited for answers that never came. Then, in 2003, something extraordinary happened. a group of Hope College students decided to make a documentary about Janet's murder. They called it Who Killed Janet Chandler? As they interviewed old witnesses and dug into forgotten records, secrets began to surface. The story caught the attention of police, and investigators reopened the case. Detectives tracked down former guards, now middle-aged men living quiet lives. At first, everyone denied knowing what really happened. But eventually, one of them, Robert Lynch, cracked. He confessed everything. He described the so-called party, the assault, the strangulation, and how they dumped Janet's body in the snow. His confession broke open the case and led to more arrests. 6 people were charged: Robert Lynch, Laurie Swank, Arthur Carl Paiva, Freddie Parker, James Nelson, and Anthony Williams. Justice was slow, but it came. Robert Lynch pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 to 40 years in prison. Laurie Swank also pleaded guilty, admitting she had helped lure Janet to her death. The remaining 4 men were convicted of first-degree murder. Each one was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The killers, who had lived free for decades, were finally behind bars. For Janet's family, it was bittersweet. They had answers, but they could never get Janet back. Today, the story of Janet Chandler still sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears it. She thought she was going to a party, a celebration with friends, but she walked straight into the hands of people she trusted most. Her murder is a reminder that real horror doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it smiles at you, pretends to be your friend, and waits until you least expect it.